Street of flat light. Street of flat light. Street of flat light. Slow down, Papa, don't you blow.
Hello, welcome to part 10. You've made it this far without wanting to dispose of yourself. Hope you're okay. Are you well? Have you had a good week? That'd be super lovely, fantastic if you have. And if you haven't, well, you haven't. Anyway, so what's going on? We're going to be doing the tailplane. So in technical terms, the horizontal and vertical stabilizers, one being the rudder, one being the elevator. And I'm going to start off with a bit of a tip on how to make sure that your horizontal stabilizer or the elevator will go in level. So I'll just come back to you right now. Just 1 second, don't go away. Right, you're probably wondering, how can I check that this part where the elevator is going to go, is it on the square? Well, there's one way to find out. If you get a flat surface like this and you put your level on the side, which you know is now flat and level, and you get another spirit level and you put that in place like that, and it has one of these levels at the top, which is the purpose of this, and that's level, which it is, you know that's square onto the wing. Easy. The reason you have to do it that way on this particular model is you've got this rather large air intake here, and you've got the rounded front here, and everything's round. So unless you know this bit is absolutely flat and level, you've got nothing else to go on. So that's the Baron's topical tip, if you like. So that will start you off on knowing that you're in a good place. If that's not level, you're just going to have to sand it lightly and keep checking it and keep checking it and sand it and check it, sand it and check it. Don't use anything too coarse, you'll take too much off and then you have to take the other half off. Next thing you know, you've ruined your tail end. Okay, just take things in nice, easy steps. Okay, so I am going to put this to one side just for a moment, and we're going to look at the tail end. So to begin with, these are the parts that you're going to need. You're going to need all three parts for the rudder, 22, 23, 24, and they come like this. Okay, that's the vertical stabilizer. This is the horizontal stabilizer, and you're going to have elevators, and these come like this. Now you'll have a pre-bent rod with a tube on it. At some point you're going to have to put Vaseline along this tube, so any glues don't interfere with that. And you're going to have to find the centre, the horizontal stabilizer, mark it, and then you can measure out each way. A little bit of fiberglass in there. How very dare you, get off. How about that? So if you grab the elevators and you offer them up, and again you mark where they come to, as I have here, you can then space out where you're going to put the hinges. So one hinge go here, here, here and here. Mark the horizontal stabilizer and mark the elevators. So you can cut your hinges in, and they're going to slot in both sides, and you'll also need to mark the centre of your tube on here, which will go in the centre there. Which now that you've got all your centres, you now know where to put the holes in, because this arm here, okay, has got to go into the elevator. So you put a hole in there. Now I think from memory that was a 2mm hole. So that'll go in there like that. Okay. The same for the other elevator. Like that. This offers up then like this. Come on now, behave yourself. You're showing off with the cameras, that's it. Okay. So look, something like that. This has got a bit of a wobble in the board here, which is why it's not lying flat. So what you have to do is let this tube into the back of the horizontal stabilizer. Okay, and then you'll have to put a little piece of maybe cotton around it with a needle, just to hold it there, and then glue it in place with 5-minute epoxy. But we've got a lot more to do before we get that far, because we need to dig things out, shape the horizontal stabilizer, you know, shape the elevators. You need to put a bit of a ridge on, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So let me just put the rudder parts to one side, and I'll come straight back to you, and we will make a start on that. I forgot to mention the 5x5 square dowel. You need to put some square dowel on this side of the elevator, so as to give you some idea. That's the elevators along this edge here. Okay, now I found the best way for me to get the right angle is to offer up a ruler, mark it, cut it, offer up the ruler, mark it, cut it. This hasn't come out exactly how I wanted it to, but I can shape that. It's slightly oversized, so better to be slightly oversized than undersized. So I'm going to glue that on. I'm going to cut and shape this one, put it on here, and then I'll carry on. Okay, right then, so you've got to mark up where the hinges are going to go. So I'll just jump ahead a little bit and put the hinges in this one, and I'll show you how to go about it. Now let's line these things up. Okay, so actually I'll just pull these out just for a second. You line these things up like that. Okay, you get your mylar hinge. This is mylar. Put your hinge in. Okay, and then you offer up elevator, grab a pencil, just mark it there. Now how did I arrive at this part? Okay, well what I did was, I have a centering tool, and what you do is got a little sharp bit in the middle there, and you twist it, push a sharp bit into the balsa, and you mark that. That gives you now a centre line. You then grab your knife and carefully push the knife in, score it along, and you just go a bit deeper and a bit deeper and a bit deeper. So you should go that depth. Take your mylar hinge and you offer it in and see if it will go in. You want it to go at least halfway, like that. Okay, did you see that? So you can use a tool like this. I don't know what they're called exactly, but I've got one, and you can. My hands are getting in the way, aren't they? You basically rest on there. You squeeze it together, and you can then run it up and down like this and put your knife in it. And it should, in theory, give it the centre of the wood. Okay, so I'm now going to put the second mylar hinge in, like that. Okay, I'll put the elevator, line it all up again, make sure it's in the right place, mark where the hinge goes, like that. So we've now got these marks here. Okay. Now I'm going to use this tool because I like it, I just favour it. Okay, so I'm going to twist, poke it in, draw it slowly across, and there's your centre line. So twist, push it in, draw it across slowly, there's your centre line. Now, I don't want to cut my fingers off or anything, so I'm just going to carefully take the knife, run it down the centre, like that. Just go a little bit deeper every time. Turn it around, so for a bit of balance. Run it across that way. Now I know you're sort of cutting towards you, but you know, sometimes these things can't be helped. And then you get to a point and you go, okay, we're going to go a bit deeper, push your knife in, draw it towards you. Don't put loads of pressure on, because if you slip, you either split the wood open or split your skin open, one or the t'other. Okay, and that's now gone the depth of that knife. Now, let's do the other one first. So, put the knife in the centre, just drag it across slightly, like that. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper, turn it around, the opposite direction. You probably get bits coming out like that. Of course, this knife has to be surgically sharp. Okay, so you've done that. You offer up both sides. Get that into there and into there. Okay. Line up your elevator and horizontal stabilizer, and you'll get that. Okay. Now, what you need to do is take this off again. Put the horizontal stabilizer down to one side, and grab yourself some glass paper. And gently take off that edge. Try and make that as even as you possibly can. I'm doing this about 45-degree angle. And turn it round with a 45-degree angle. Just check it every now and again. Come up to the middle there. Run your eye down it, so you get like a triangle. Now, the reason we do that is because we need this to be able to move like this. So I'm just going to check it. I'll get a lighter, finer gauge, and that down there like that. See it, it's in the middle. So we end up with basically that profile like that. Put the elevator back to the horizontal stabilizer. reinsert the mylar hinges. Okay, like that. Now we have full movement. And all you've got to do now is just repeat that on the other side. And that's why we do that. I'll do the other side. See you in a second or two. So, having done the other side, we've now got two elevators on the horizontal stabilizer, and they can quite easily move either way. I think the tolerance is 15 millimeters. That's way more than 15 millimeters, so you're well within. And there you go. Okay, so the next part is to fit this. This is going to be the fun part. So let's part these off. Okay. There you go. Put those to one side. And you need to decide which way is up. So I've got an X. There, X means up. So I've cheated. I have to admit I cheated. I've used a Dremel. This is a Dremel. It's got a little pointy grindy thing there, and I just like that. You can use a knife will do it. You just got to be careful what you're doing, that's all. Now that has to seat. See, I've already marked where the holes go as well, so I know those. That, in other words, that goes like that. Yeah, so it's in the right place. So you only got to get this in the center. Okay, goes this way around. You've marked the center of your tube. You know where the holes are for the wires to go in. So you slide that along there. Do a trial fit like that, and now you're at liberty to glue that in. Now it does say in the instructions to get a needle and thread and just put that in. I don't know if it really needs that, if I'm being honest. I have done it in the past, but I'm not sure it really needs it. Anyway, so if you want to re-offer that up, put your hinges in like that, and then you line up the hole like that. It should, oh, let me put this in here first, it might be easier this way. Put that in there like that. Put your hinge in, line that one up. It should, if all my calculations are correct, and look like that. Okay. Now obviously I've got to let that tube in slightly here. Okay. And then that will fit nice and snugly. So if I try this end here, put it through the hole first. Now, this is why we use slow setting glues on hinges, because you need to adjust things, because now you've got 3 points of contact. And that needs to centralise that tube. There you go. It needs to go over a little bit, but basically you've got that. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit out. Take a little bit out from there to there. From there to there, the hole down to there, and that'll fit snugly. So I'll just do that now, and I'll show you how it fits. Right then, so horizontal stabilizer. Now we've goes down to what we need to do for the hinge for the elevators, and we have the slits put in for the hinges. We can now turn our attention to you know, just occasionally I forget how to speak English. I don't know whether it's getting old, too much on my mind. Oh, bevel. We can bevel these leading edges now, and there is a shape on the drawing. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, so basically they're just saying round it off at the front and slightly taper off the elevators. So that's what we're going to do now. Now, as you could probably guess, there's nothing complicated about that. You just got to be able to do it evenly. So you know that this is the middle, okay, and just go along with your 80 grit. Well, I'm using 80 grit anyway. Just do a little bit at a time. Don't go mad with it, okay. And there you go. There you go. And already you'll have a rounded front. Look at that. It's as easy as that. You haven't got to go mental with it. Now I have got the finer stuff here. You just go over it just lightly. Take off those bits of fluff here and there. Alright. What you got to do? A bit of fluff on there, obviously. It's rounded. You know, there's no voodoo involved. There's no magic. That's all you got to do. Just there. Okay, so just do that then. Well, I've decided in my infinite wisdom to pre-cover the horizontal stabilizer, purely because I know that when I come to skin the model, it's going to save me a whole lot of hassle. Now I've put the rods for the elevators in here. I've glued it in with 5-minute epoxy, and I have put some cotton around it, and that just doubles it up. And that is actually the instructions as well. Put the hinges in. So all I've got to do now is put the elevators on, but I'm not going to put those on just yet for various reasons. But I will cover them because they're done then, aren't they? And they'll be all nice and ready. And what I may do, I'm thinking about skinning part of the fuselage in the fuzz, just to save myself a whole lot of hassle there around this, because if I put this on, I've got a skin around it. So yeah, it's a bit of a toss-up really. Anyway, I'm going to have a look at the rudder. So I'm going to cover this now, and I'm going to go to have a look at the rudder. Okay. Hi. Well, first things first, I have covered the horizontal stabilizer and the elevators. I have not glued the elevators in place because I know I'm going to take them out again, but it will save me a whole lot of pain later. And I have marked the underneath, and I will be taking this cover off so I can glue it onto the fuzz. But I need to line things up first and know where I'm going, what I'm doing and why. So let me show you what's what so far. Now you centre line it and you lay it on the fuzz. Okay, all well and good. Now, in the instructions, it asks you to apply a fillet. What is a fillet? Well, basically a fillet in. So I've come up with this. Now, I've not finished this, by the way, but this goes here. You may have other ideas of how to do your fillet. And then you get part 23 and you get part 22, and 22 goes at the front and you rest 22 there, and hopefully this will line up like that. Now you will note there's a bit of a gap under 22. Now 22 has got to come down a little bit, I admit, but basically this is what you've got to do. So I'm going to shape up that fillet a little bit more and see how it turns out. This is this stupid little thing is frustrating, but time and patience, so give me a little bit of time and I will come back to you and see how far we've got and see how it turns out. Right, I've put that little fillet in there, took off the skin underneath, glued it on, reskinned the top. That should now sit quite neatly there. Now here's the thing, when you come to put the vertical stabilizer on, you really need this to be glued in, and you're trying to get everything to fit properly. So what I've decided to do, I think I will probably cover the fuzz, because it's just going to, see, if this is on, it's going to be in the way, if I'm being honest. So I think I might cover the fuzz. I'm trying to think if there's anything preventing me from doing it. Offhand, I don't think there is. So I think I'll cover the fuzz and then I'll come back to that, because then I can rightly put the vertical stabilizer on and the rudder, and I can't think of another way right now. So I think I'll probably do that, and it's going to be easy to do because the rudder ain't going to be, well, the tail's not going to be in the way, frankly. So there you are. So I think that's what I'll do. There you go. Covering. Not my favourite subject. I'm not very good at covering. I'd like to be, but I'm not. I did actually at one point cover the majority of the fuzz, and I had to rip it all off again because I was making mistakes. So I thought, right, I'm going to design out my mistakes. One mistake I did do was I covered one side with cover grip. That was a mistake. Why did I do it? I did it because I just thought it'd go straight on, which it kind of did, but actually it's undesirable, because when I came to strip it off again, it made it very difficult. Also, I found it made the film a little bit lumpy, because the glue is, well, it's glue, it goes lumpy. So I didn't like it. It came out as an orange peel effect. And the reason, I think half the reason I put that on was because I thought maybe if I use it on the wing, it'll help me give that real flat surface and not bubble up or anything. So I've discovered that that is not a very good idea. It's only there really if you need a bit of extra glue to tack on edges and stuff like that. So yeah, that was number one mistake. Number two mistake was temperatures. Now, I'm used to using different films and things, and it's a bit of a trial by jury thing to get the temperature right. And normally what you do, you get some film, put your iron on, put the film on, just keep adjusting it till it wrinkles up, and then you just slightly tweak it back down again. But this is Oracover, and it's chrome. And the other thing I discovered with the chrome is I like to use rubbing alcohol to clean off excess glue and stuff off films, which occasionally happens. It gets on your eye and then inadvertently smear it over your film. And what's it called now? Isopol, I think it's called. I just keep some a little bit there and the rest I keep over there because it's got a little flip top on it and it's easy for me to use with one finger, believe it or not. This will take off the colour on the film if you rub it too hard. So that's another thing I learned about Oracover chrome. I'm not saying that all the Oracover chromes are this way, it's just what I've noticed using Oracover chrome. So what did I do? I thought, well, how can I overcome this? Well, obviously the things we use for covering, the two main thing is your iron and your heat gun. So I thought, right, I'm going to mark my iron. I mark it up, put the different temperatures on it. You can get irons with a digital readout for temperatures in centigrade, and for our American friends in Fahrenheit because they haven't caught up yet. So this is what I came up with. It's different settings. I don't know if you see how well you can see that. Now this Oracover chrome, your first setting is 90 degrees centigrade. Now I'll let you work that out in Fahrenheit, I can't be bothered. And your highest setting you should ever use is 150 degrees centigrade. Now you would use that temperature sparingly, it's quite hot. So how do I check it? So what I did was, for £12 I bought a cooking thermometer. There's a AA battery in it, and this is the thermometer. Now this does do centigrade and it does do Fahrenheit. So what's that? 26 degrees centigrade in Fahrenheit is 78.9. Okay, so it will do Fahrenheit as well. I got this, it's a hot loop. I got it from Amazon. I'm not a big fan of Amazon, but sometimes I do something quite good. So I got it, and it was the right price. And there's a probe here. And these are made for ovens, so it'll go up to 200 degrees centigrade quite easily. And to prove that, the hottest temperature on my iron I could get was 197 degrees centigrade. And that, it's just shy of twice of boiling point. You'll find some car engines will go at this temperature. I just happen to know stuff like that. My father was a mechanic in the army after he was apprenticed as a pattern maker. So then I thought, what about my heat gun? Well, I took this right up, and my breaker tripped at 175 degrees centigrade on full blast. So yeah, I think the second setting on this is a 1 and a 2. Temperature didn't vary that much, to be honest, so I've written this down as 175 degrees centigrade. So if you're trying to shrink some film, don't go mad with this. In fact, I wouldn't go mad with this anyway, but sometimes it's just a useful tool to have. So now you know. So I think that was worth the money. So I am now going to practice what I've learned. Just turn that off and put it back in its box. Now I've unplugged my iron to let it cool down, and I will heat it up again to 90 degrees centigrade, which is in the Oracover instructions. And on item number 3, it will give you those temperatures, and it does mention the temperatures again. They say that you can use this to cover foam. I've never tried to cover foam with film, and I don't know if I ever will or not, but you know, you never know, it might happen. I'll have to wait and see. So I suppose I could check the temperature on this iron now. I won't plug it in just yet, just to see what temperature it is. it turns out my body temperature is just over 30 degrees centigrade in a cool kitchen. The reason it's cool is because the wife's at work. Yeah, anyway, there you go. So I'll just lay this on. Let's let you see what I'm doing. Just lay it on just like that. Hang on. Can you see that? Yeah, there you go. So you just lay it on like that and you'll see the temperature. At the moment, .33. We can see that or not. Yeah, 35. It's going up to 37. So that's cooled down quite a bit since I did my experiments with this. So it does work, and it's not like one of those tacky hospital point your gun things which don't work properly and not calibrated properly. But this is pretty accurate, and at the moment that's saying 44.6 going up to 45.5. Okay, so it's not an instant reading, you have to leave it on there. But don't forget, this is designed for cookers, you know, cooking meat and joints and cakes and, you know, pizzas and things of this nature, getting your charcoal, your oven the right temperature, etc, etc. So yeah, if I plug this back in now, I can double check the temperature. Just plug it in, it's already on, and I'll just check that temperature now, and that's rising. The iron takes a little while to heat up. I think I got it set at 90, didn't I? Yes, I did. Set that at 90. So yeah, at the moment it's at 48, rising 49, 50, Mach 1. Mach 0.2, and come on, yeah, so I'll check it again in a moment. Well, I did find though, once it seems to reach its highest temperature that you set it to, this will start going down a little bit. I don't know whether it's this or whether it's the iron, I don't know, but anyway, this is now going up to 64 degrees centigrade, and it's getting to the point where I don't want to hold that tip anymore. I'll tell you, one thing I've learned about women is that they seem to have hands of asbestos. You ever see them washing up, they don't use gloves, and you put your hand in it, you take your skin off. I've also found this with baths as well. If a woman takes a bath, you know, it's that boiling point. You know, there's no way I dip my toe in there. Anyway, that's my experience. You're a misogynist, you're a misogynist. Yeah, it's going up. 79. So I'm pretty confident that's going to stop on or around 90. It's at 80 now. So I suppose you could say this is calibrating your iron. And I think it's a good idea because this chrome is not the easiest to work with, and I did consider not doing any anymore. Here we are, 89, 90 degrees centigrade. It's still rising slightly. 91, 91.5, slowing down. 92. It stopped at 92. So yeah, it's close enough, isn't it? So that's now the correct temperature for tacking on. Now I would not want to put my hand on there. That's still hot. Personally, I think I might set it a little bit lower actually, but just for tacking on and stuff. But there you go. So let's leave it where it is. I'll turn this off now. So what was 91? I don't know in centigrade. Yeah, work it out. So put that away, nicely turned off, etc. No doubt I should put this on the shelf, then forget where I put it, and then end up buying another one because I can't remember what I did, and then find it again. Right, so this is actually the story of my life. Okay, so that's now set. So I have the port aileron here, which will go that way around, and you'll notice that I know it's the right one because it's got this at one end. Okay, so here is film. Lay your film flat. Peel off the backing tape. Don't try and peel off the film, peel off the backing tape. I know that sounds obvious, but you'll be surprised. Okay, that's come off a bit too easy for my liking, but it's been in the workshop overnight, and we've had some very cold temperatures recently. Now, I always do the bottom first. It's probably the best way of doing things, especially with wings. You always do the bottom wing first. So we'll do the bottom first. There you go. So you lay it on. Now, immediately I can see that this is a little bit too long. I'm going to allow a centimetre there, this end, and I'm going to cut this down to a centimetre the other end, just to make it easier for myself. Got my sharp knife, buy some spare blades. This is a 10A blade, I think, and I recommend these. You can get, you know, the plastic ones you get, cheap plastic ones, they're just the same, and these blades will fit them. How about that? People throw these things away, and you go, oh no, actually I can reuse that, just put a new blade in it. So there you are. Metal rules are good. And so where do we start from here? The straightest edge is there, so we'll turn that around because you want the straightest edge, and get it even. Now, because it's the bottom one, you don't really particularly want it to overlap too much at the top. And I'm just going to go near to my thumb. Ooh, always on camera, isn't it? Always on camera. You can, of course. Where are my clothes pegs gone? One moment, I'm going to fetch a clothes peg. This is being prepared on camera, isn't it? You think I would have thought about this, but there again, I'm not a professional, so neither is this a studio full of professionals who get paid lots of money. So there you go, and plonk that there. And now what I can do is put your thumb under it, that's it. Clothes pegs are quite good because the spring is not particularly strong. So therefore, if you use very sharp clamps like this here, now these are very strong and they will dent your balsa. So of course you don't know you've done it till you've done it, by which time it's too late. And there you go. So there's your helping hand. Okay, so that should stay where it is. Alright, now I'm going to go nearest my thumb and just go in the direction intended, like that. Okay, so you're not pulling it back, you're pushing it forward, so you're coming off the edge. Okay, and then just check what you're doing, go a little bit further along, nice and evenly. And don't forget, this is on or around 90 degrees centigrade, so it's just making that glue tacky, a bit like my style of clothing. And there you go. Now if you want to, you can just run your iron down there and carry on. Now there's lots of people who will show you how to do covering, but 9 times out of 10 they're doing wings. Like, wings aren't even difficult to do. What's difficult to do is to cover a solid object like this aileron. And usually wings are made up of ribs. So all you're doing is you're spanning something, and it's not difficult to do. But when it's solid, it's twice as hard. Now there is one guy I found online who's actually covering a P51. It's twice this scale, but he's using a product called monocoat, and it's a completely different thing altogether. And actually I probably wouldn't do it exactly how he does it. You know, he's put the tail on, and it's causing you more work unnecessarily. Okay, so that's all tacked on. Then we're just going to run the iron across the seal. Now one thing I did learn about using chrome, it reflects the light quite strongly and it's blinding. It really is. I didn't realise when I chose to do it this way. But anyway, there you go. So now what we're going to do is, yeah, see that? Now what we're going to do now is put a little bit of tension on there in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to wrap that around there. Put my clothes peg on. Okay, there we go. And I'm also going to put a little bit of tension on the one side. Now you may get the odd wrinkle here and there. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right. And I'm just going to tack that edge. Just go up and down it like that. Now because we have it at the correct temperature, the glue that's underneath will tack on and not necessarily melt so badly that it oozes out and gets on the rest of the film, which is something to be avoided. And now I've got that clothes peg off, I can put it back on the end again. I'm just going to go across that trailing edge, and you just to tack it down, nothing else. Okay, but be careful you don't touch your skin. It's very, very hot. It will burn you. Okay, I'll just put a tension on there and put the clothes peg on. And you'll see in a minute or so why it's difficult to, or more difficult I should say, to do solid objects, because the air has to escape. And if it's a solid object, a lot of the time there's nowhere for that air to escape to. Whereas you've got a built-up wing, like the ribs and everything, loads of places for the air to escape. If you get a wing and you're skinning it, and you get to a point where the air can't escape, it actually creates a bubble, quite a big bubble actually, and you're torn between popping it or some other thing, and it's quite soul destroying, especially if you've made a nice job of it as well. But you know, you can often just let it cool down and hope that the air naturally escapes by its own accord. That should be now tacked on. Okay. Now I'm going to leave the ends for now. Just leave them alone for now. Okay. Hopefully. See, it's caught itself there. Look. There you go. But because it's been put on with a fairly low setting on the iron, it will pop off. These sort of things happen occasionally. Now I can afford to turn the heat up a little bit and go over the thing again. So I'm going to turn this up now. Turn that up to what I think is 120. I'm not going to go with the whole 430. I just think that'd be a little bit foolish if I did that. Just because it gives you a maximum doesn't mean to say you've got to use that maximum. Where's my knife gone? Now I'm right-handed. Okay, so I'm going to go a third of the way up, punch a little hole in the film, and rest the knife. Don't angle it or anything, and you just put it along. Like so. You'll find if you try and do it this way, it just won't cut straight. And I think it's because I'm right-handed. I don't think there's any particular other reason than that. So I'm going to trim that off. Okay, go another third of the way down, punch it, and just, without hardly any pressure at all. There you go. Now that tells me the blade probably needs changing because it was dragging a little bit. You want to avoid cutting the balsa. That little last piece was glue. Okay. There's very little here to hold on to, so I'm going to place that on the cutting mat. Oop. Very, 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 very carefully. Cut that into a straight line. Okay, so we now look like this. Now you'll see these ripples in it. We'll come to that in just a minute. Okay, we're now going to go to the ends. Now let's see if we can push this down a little bit. There you go. Now I'm going to cut it about 5mm. That's more or less the thickness of the aileron. Then I'm going to cut on that corner there. Okay, and a little bit there, not a lot. Okay, there you go. Just helps it fold over. Get rid of the front bit. So you got that. Okay. Alright, so that's ready to fold over. Now I'm not going to do it just yet because I want the air to escape. Now what I'm going to do is, you can get these covers for your iron, call them a sock. Now I found the best way of putting this on, besides very carefully, is to put the sock on, get your 2 pieces of string, wrap it around the handle of the iron. You don't have to do a double knot, just do a single knot like that, and that becomes a perfect fit, and believe it or not, it won't come off. You'll notice also this is blackened. Now the reason that's blackened is because when they manufacture these films, I suggest, I don't know for a fact, I suggest that they go through rollers, etc, etc, and this is some sort of lubricant they use to stop it from sticking to each other. So I suggest that's probably the lubricant coming off. So obviously you want to stick this in a washing machine at some point, or hand wash it if you wish. You want to be eco-friendly. And this is on the higher setting now, so I'm doubling down on the glue. So I'm gluing it twice in effect, and I'm just rolling over that bit there where the chrome just has gone over by 0.5 mm or less. So it's doubling down, and it gives you a nice smooth edge there, and there's no surprises. Okay, Usually at the end I usually sort of halt and let it get a good chance for that heat to transfer through. Then go back to the leading edge and just go over again. Make sure that glue is set, sticky and so forth. You cover a wing in a similar way, well, a solid wing anyway. Now, if you've never covered anything like this before, it can take quite a while if you're not used to it. Now what you do is you go to the middle, okay, and just circle round. Okay, that's now taken. You'll see the difference. Can you see the difference? Because it's shiny. Yeah, it's flat. Now I still think that's probably a little bit too hot, but anyway, we'll carry on. We're not going above the maximum in the destructions. Let's take it to the end there, and allow that air to escape. Okay. So, can you see the difference now? This side is bubbly, this side is flat. Yeah. Support it with my finger here. And you can almost hear air escaping, and you'll notice I use a little circular motion. That's to make things all nice and even. You hear that? Can you hear that? That's partly the air going now. The polymers are reacting to the heat. Okay, so now we've got that all nice and flat, and then you just get this little tongue that I cut earlier and just like this. Now don't forget you've got to put a top bit of film on here, so in fact this doesn't need to be perfect. So you got that. Okay, and then what you do, you take your knife, hold it on your cutting board flat, and just trim off the excess. Go over it again just to make sure it's all glued on. And there you have it. Then you go to the other end, do exactly what you did before, put it down to about 5mm. Take off the front bit, a bit of overhang there. Okay, come on. There you go. Don't leave any straggling bits. And then let's do that. Trim off the excess. Double whammy it. And there you go. So all you got to do is turn your iron back down to 90, and give it a chance to cool down. It takes a little while to cool down, and then all you got to do then is just repeat that for the top, and I promise you that will work. Now, you know, that wasn't particularly hard, was it? So just copy that. Okay, well, welcome to the end of part 10. It was an hour-long special. I just thought it would be advantageous just to get the tail done all in one video rather than making you wait and so forth, and it's all there in one go, and starting the covering. So I think it's an all-rounder. Thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a good week. Bye.
Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top.